Welcome to the Her Voice Shines podcast, where we celebrate the power, brilliance, and resilience of women everywhere. I'm your host, Shanasia Washington. Join us as we share inspiring stories and insights from extraordinary women who have found their voice and are making a difference. Together, we'll create a ripple effect, illuminating the path to visibility and empowerment. Let's break barriers, shatter ceilings, and lift each other up. In each episode, we dive deep into the journeys of women who have turned their challenges into triumphs and their dreams into reality. Whether you're looking for motivation, guidance, or a community that understands your journey, you're in the right place. Stay tuned and remember, let your voice shine. And just like that, I'm back like I never left. It's your fabulous host, Shanasia Washington, streaming from none other than the beautiful city of Houston, Texas, baby. It's always hot here. But let me tell you, it's Sunday for me. And I don't know when you'll see this, but I can tell you that I have been up this morning in pure meditation, pure reading, and pure soul centering. And I'm so happy to have done that for this episode because I'm very, very excited to hear from this lady. And she's here. You know what she does? She comes to the stage, does our normal drill, tells us her name, where she's streaming from, and we get the magic of that story without any further waiting time. Here's my very beautiful guest for today.
I'm Julie Barth, and I am the mother of six. I'm streaming from South Carolina, Aiken, South Carolina, so it's hot here as well. Again, mother of six, I'm an author, and I started a charity last year that helps women, female-led homes when they hit crisis, whether that's through illness or through divorce, when they suddenly find themselves as head of household and also responsible for childbearing and everything else. So we're trying to provide a safety net so that you don't have to reach poverty in order to get some help. I've written 3 books. One is about my first husband who died of pancreatic cancer, and my daughter with special needs who has primordial dwarfism, but she's also had a series of other challenges and came down with cancer at the age of 13. So she's a self-taught artist. She's a miracle in every respect of the word, because there's no reason she should be here besides what she does here on Earth, which is she really just wants to make a difference, as do I. I was in an abusive relationship for about 10 years. It was emotionally abusive, financial and economic. And that's what led me to open up the charity. It's called the Colin James Barth Outreach. We're in our infancy. We're trying to find out exactly where we can be the most help to women. It's very hard to be a single woman and, in charge of everything. So our hope is to lift women up where they're at instead of allowing them to fall into poverty before anyone will step in and provide aid. So that's kind of my story.
It's kind of her story, but it's kind of not. But we appreciate that, Julie.
Yeah.
This is my space of conversation. And when I go and look at these things, I tell them, like, do you guys know what you signed up for? Well, I do. I'm just happy that you made it and did the call, because one of the things about your story is a great story of resiliency, right? And then there's times in our lives where we know we have the strength, we know we're kind of building. There's times in our life where we feel like we don't have the strength, because you have really lived through what I think is kind of unimaginable ways of grief and resilience, period. That's what it is. So when you look back, tell me the moment that you knew you had strength, because sometimes you always don't. What was that catalyst moment that said, you know what, Julie, this is the time that strength has to come through, and I have to persevere, and I know this hurt, I know this stinks, and there are people that are not going through this who will not understand. What was the pivotal moment that ignited the strength for Julie Barth?
I think there's been several moments. I wouldn't say there's just one. I think losing my best friend, my husband, was really the hardest part, I guess, where I realized that I had to. There was that song that was coming out at the time. It was the Fergie song, Big Girls Don't Cry. And I remember that song came on, and I felt it. I was like, I had 4 small children. And I don't know if I felt my own strength, but I felt this propensity and need to suck it up and recognize that, I'd always kind of looked around in my earlier years to find somebody who I thought could save me. And when I finally recognized that I was the person that was there to save me, I stopped looking around and I started realizing that the strength does come from within. I need to stop looking on the outside to find somebody to support me, to lean on, because that person is not always going to be there, but you're always there to find your own way out of something. So I guess that would be the first time. The second time was when I went through my second divorce, and it had been a torture really for a decade of, just questioning myself, questioning, am I crazy? Am I starting the problems? Am I the problem? And finally being on the road to recovery and getting out of that fog and getting to the other side of it and saying, no, it wasn't just me. Like, I'm not, I'm stronger than I think. And if people don't like me, because I think that keeps people stuck in shame and guilt and embarrassment, like, people are going to know what went on in my house. People are going to hear what I've done. When I finally realized that it doesn't matter what other people's opinions are of me, it matters more that I know I'm a good person, that I know what I've done, and that I can look myself in the mirror, then it didn't matter anymore. And that is a very strengthening feeling when you stop trying to appease everyone else and you live your life authentically and genuinely, and you put it out there, and you're just not, when it's all out there and you have no more secrets to hide, it's just it does allow you to find the strength to just keep doing things, because then it just doesn't matter anymore.
It doesn't. And that power of, number one, knowing your own story well enough. And then two, I've already conquered this thing within myself to even get here to tell you the story. So there's really not too much more you can say bad about me that I probably haven't already said about myself, that I probably already haven't been in the slums with myself. And that's why I tell people it's so important to understand and revisit the journey as early and often as you can, because you will forget the strides that you have made.
Yeah.
I mean that. I mean that.
100%.
That's how that inner voice, that's how those things start to build, that's how those things start to change. Because at the end of the day, when I thought about it, I said, this particular journey that I'm on, I don't take it lightly. I pour into the earth what I am called to do. I show up and do it. And believe it or not, this is not an isolating journey. There are many people who lived a very similar journey. And I would call it a disservice to not get up in the morning, wake up and share this, because there's somebody who got in a situation and died there.
Yeah. And it's easy to get stuck in something when you're just so tunnel visioned on it, because as women, I think our goal is to, like, make everything okay, to fix things, to build a home, to find stability. And, when you're so tunnel visioned on something, you do some really stupid things to try and, like, keep it together. And it's easy to, like, beat yourself up at the end and be like, that was really stupid. But, I always feel like if you came to a situation, you made a decision, I try not to ever regret it, because I made the decision with all the information I had at that point, with goodness intent. The intent was good. And just because it didn't work out the way that I wanted it to doesn't mean that I regret the decision I made in that moment, because hindsight is so easy to be like, well, that was really stupid. But if you come to a situation with a good intent and your heart was in the right place, then you've got to stop beating yourself up that it didn't work the way you wanted it to, or try and fix something that's not fixable, and just, like, give into it. Say, okay, I failed, and it's okay to fail, and I'm just going to move along and do something different and better.
And you know what, I think the most powerful thing you said during that segment, you said, I made the decision based on the information I had at that time.
Yeah.
And that's powerful, because people will beat themselves up and look back, well, I should have did this. You didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. But standing proud and saying that I know that in that place, I did the best I could with what I had. And I'm proud of that. It may have not gone like I said it was going to go, but in good intention, I can say I did the best I could at that time. And that's powerful. So women that are listening, I know sometimes you second guess yourself, you question, and you say all of the what ifs. But if you are truly moving in intention and you are saying that right now, I am doing the best that I can, I am giving all I have in this moment, I guarantee that you will ripple along and you'll have more moments with more wisdom to make even better decisions. And I can prove that. I'm a living advocate.
Me too.
right?
Thank you.
Very advocated.
If mistakes made you better, I would be the best person on the face of the earth because I've made them all.
Me too, Julie, and I'm
Yeah.
still making them. Here's the
Yeah.
reality. I'm still making
Daily, yes. Well,
still
if you don't, you don't grow. You
making-
have to change to grow, and sometimes those changes are painful. But
for
that's what
sure.
scars are for, you know.
Sure.
Um, yeah, so it's the scars that make you stronger.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about this resilient warrior take. Beautiful, beautiful journey. I mean, really, really miraculous, right? Tell me about what that specifically has taught you about motherhood, resilience, and really even hope. Because sometimes you get these situations in life and you're trying to figure out, like, what is this for? What's on the other side of it? Tell me about Tate's journey and then what that instilled in you, especially around hope.
So Tate, from the very beginning, Tate, we had had two miscarriages. We had one son together. My high school or grammar school sweetheart and I, who was the one that passed away, we had Tatum, and right from the get-go, she just wouldn't grow. It was like, 6 weeks. Oh, congratulations, you're 6 weeks. 10 weeks, you're congratulations, you're 6 weeks. And it got to the point where like it just wasn't. Nothing was making sense. So it was really 9 months of people throwing theories out about what it could be, but yet all the ultrasounds looked fine. There was never anything, no markers for genetic, just conditions, and so we just kind of went off blind faith. We even had an amniocentesis that came back okay, and they would just throw all these things at us. And at 9 months, when she came out, she was only 3 pounds. So they used the wrong medical equipment to try and preserve her life, and ended up doing a whole lot of damage to her throat. So a lot of things that we were dealing with after she was born, um, we still didn't know that she had a genetic condition called primordial dwarfism because it was pre-Google. You couldn't just get online and people weren't sharing things like that. So it was so rare at the time that she didn't fit into whatever the criteria was because it was all by looks. Um, so what we were dealing with is trying to get her trach out because it was making her vomit, and all these other sidelined issues that we just really wanted to get her to be the best that she could be. And as a mom, you're in the special needs world and people say things to you as if it doesn't hurt. They say you say like, oh, she looks funny. And again, as a mom, these medical things that people are throwing at you, they're hurtful, they're scary, they're overwhelming. And I would say that 80% of the things that they said about her never came true. And I just always kind of looked at her as you can say what you want to say and you can limit what you believe she's capable of, but I'm not going to follow you, and I'm going to see what she's capable of before I label her. So it was a long, 3 years before we knew. But she met all of her milestones, and specialists would come and they'd say, can she do this, and she did. She met every single thing. She walked on time, she talked with the assistance of a passenger valve, and then she had surgery to get the trach out. And she just whenever someone said she couldn't do something, she did. And that is Tatum in a nutshell. There's no reason why she's here, none. And then at the age of 13, she came down with a rare form of connective tissue cancer. And when I say Tatum is either the most unlucky person or she's the luckiest person, and both probably, because this cancer that she came down with was completely unrelated to her genetic disease or condition. It happens in senior citizens, and she was 13. There's 130 cases in the United States, and 98% of them were all in senior citizens. So when you package all of that stuff, and here she is, her life expectancy was really not even to make it past birth. She's 24. She's 24 pounds. She is a self-taught artist. She has the social capacity to be, engaged with people, and just really, really wants to contribute to the world. So she's just defied every odds. And, when you talk about the universe talking to you and telling you what you need to do, I saw her art one day and she was just doing it to do it. And I looked at it and I thought, there's a reason she's here. Her story, everything she's overcome, you know, and the beauty of her art is beautiful, but then when you recognize all of the things that she's gone through to get there, it just gave me purpose. It pushed me to open up the charity. It pushed me to put her art online so she can sell her art so people can see it and enjoy it. And those proceeds to help people that have been in my shoes as a special needs parent, being able to get resources that I need. My shoes is, raising four kids with a chronically ill husband with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, being the mom of a daughter with cancer, being, the mother of an emotionally abused. Her strength always gave me strength, because I always saw if she could do it. I can't imagine I can't. So that's her story. She's pretty miraculous.
So all we have to do now is all the magic that she has to her to bottle it up, give me some of it so I can drink it as a superpower.
Right. It's like exhausting to tell our story. I don't know how she went through it.
Beautiful, beautiful and miraculous story. When I read it, I got chills. I was just honored to hear it. And one of the things that echoes, because I just did a little reel, and I was like, man, I'm back to reading daily. I'm back to getting more daily deposits, and I'm starting to get these shifts a lot quicker than I was getting them, but not as much until I went and started reading and got back recording, basically. And these are deposits and shifts that I take I put them, they're grander to me because it tells me that these stories are resilient, that my situation sometimes, like, it pales into comparison. So why do I not get up every day and make every day magical? Why don't I get up every day and claim this as a rite of passage every single day, even if it's something small? So that's for me. I was like, yeah. I'm going to get up and do it. I'm going to do it with gratitude every day.
Yes. Because I think it's really easy to feel sorry for yourself. I mean, I find myself feeling sorry for myself, and then, or my other children will do something, and I'm like, look at your sister, like, oh, you had a bad day at school. You get to go to school. You get to go to a normal school, and I try not to beat them up because it's a human condition. But at the same time, I think that, we all need to look at the blessings we have rather than the things that we want that we don't have. And that's, or things that we can't do, or focus on the things that we didn't do correctly when there's so many good things to focus on.
I'm telling you, and it changes your perspective. It changes your outlook. It changes it. So I'm telling you, everything around me is not rosy. Sometimes I feel like all hell is breaking loose. But there's something in that moment that grounds me and centers me and says, Shanadra, what if? What if you decide that this is not the worst thing that can happen to you? And I've been doing that. And things have been shifting, Julia. I'm not saying that erases the pain. I'm not saying that it erases the hurt. But things are happening that keeps me propelled.
Yeah.
Healed.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
And I think when you can go from a feeling of hopelessness or out of control, which I've been hit with all of these situations where I feel out of control. They come to you, your daughter's going to be, your husband has to accept, like, every time I've been met with those challenges, I feel as if the only way to tackle them is to stop worrying about the things you can't do or the grandness of them, and find the things that you can do. Because when you take action or you act on something, it turns helplessness to power, and you're then in control. And if you can control something, that fuels you and it gives you purpose, and it makes everything meaningful rather than, oh, he's sick, and, I'm going to wallow in the sickness of it. Not to say that that's not sad, and we all have to have those feelings, but if you can find that little piece of it that you can turn positive or gain control or use as a tool for good, then it makes it all so much less meaningless.
Yeah. Beautiful. And I want to shift here because there was definitely parts of your journey I wanted to make sure we highlighted. And we did talk about domestic abuse. And domestic abuse is not always visible. It's not always a visible thing. How do you help women recognize emotional abuse and really encourage them to seek safety without shame?
Well, I think emotional abuse it's a very complex set of emotions because, again, as women, you have somebody telling you that you're the problem. You have somebody who is pushing your buttons and causing you to react, and then you react and you think, oh my gosh, it is me. I did do this, because you are suddenly acting completely uncharacteristic of yourself. You are acting crazy and they're telling you you're crazy. So it makes sense that you would internalize it. And then there's that piece of you that thinks, okay, well, if I fix myself, this will all work out. And the problem is that the harder you try to fix yourself, the more you get sucked into it. And it's not fixable, because the person that you're in the relationship with doesn't want it to be fixed. They are purposely manipulating the situation to control you through your own actions. And you unfortunately play right into it, because you're a good person, because you want it to work, because you do care, because you love this person. Physical abuse is horrible. And I think a whole lot of awareness has, over the past couple decades, has been fueled, and thank God. Emotional abuse is different, because you don't look in a mirror and see bruises, and you don't have a healing period. There's nothing that you can confirm. All you know is that you're confused all the time. You don't know what's going on. You can't find peace. Like, I got to the point where I couldn't get out of bed. I was a runner. I used to run 10 miles a day, and I couldn't run to the mailbox. My bones were twisting. They said I had fibromyalgia, and that was all emotional torture, literally. But, the minute I did come out, and I was afraid people wouldn't believe me. He was sending my text messages out to people. He was videotaping me and sending it to his friends. He was, planting seeds behind my back and telling people I was crazy. So, of course, it looked like I was crazy. So it kept me in this situation where I thought, if I tell the truth, nobody's going to believe me. I didn't take any video. I didn't keep any of the ugly text messages, because I didn't want anybody to ever know what happened and what I did and what happened in my home. But he used it all against me. And when I came out, I was further abused by the legal system, who they don't think emotional abuse is abuse. So that's one of my big objectives in all this as well, is, if we've got the court systems telling us that emotional abuse is not real, then you come out, you finally work your way out of it, and he came after me and said that I was a drug addict, that I had mental illness, and I had to prove that I was not, rather than him having to prove that I was. So, it's just, emotional abuse is a very, very complex thing. There's so much guilt and shame behind it. And if you expose the person who's been abusing you, you also have to expose yourself, and you have to take a good hard look at the things that you let go on, the things that you engaged in. No relationship goes bad just because of one person. It takes two people, regardless of whether they're pushing your buttons. You should probably walk away, but you get so wrapped up in it. And in that exchange is what keeps you stuck in it. But unfortunately, it doesn't get any better. It doesn't. There's no way to fix a narcissistic, abusive relationship, an emotionally abusive relationship. The only way, I always say, the only way to win is to walk. And that's not like walk away as in, I'm just going to let them get away with it. But the problem is that the only way that you're going to find your peace is just to break free from it, to walk away from it, to, realize that you are going to lose friends. You are going to lose things. You might lose pretty much all that you think you want. But usually the things that you end up losing are the very things that were keeping you stuck to begin with. And the very things that you didn't want, you just didn't know it, because you couldn't see it, because you were so wrapped up in this situation.
Mm-hmm. That's really, really good. And I really liked how you talked about that accountability piece of doing that inner work to figure out, okay, what part did I also play in this? Because sometimes a lot of people just see the aggressor, but I'm not, in some cases, some victims, they just don't have a choice, right? But there are situations where you say, well, look, I allowed this, or there was a red flag that I really, really, really just ignored. Or the writings were actually on the wall 3 years ago, but I did this instead of this. Or I allowed this person to say this and I believed it. So I think that work of that inner accountability does wonders for the healing process. And it's so important that we think about that, not only in, romantic relationships, but relationships with all people. Because like you said, with the losing of the friends and losing of the family, been there, done that. I'm in that season right now. And I find myself constantly saying, well, look, 2 years ago, there was a clear indication that this wasn't right. But
Yeah.
you proceeded to still make the phone call and, have all the surface level conversation. You too said yes to them treating you that way because you kept showing up. So
Yeah.
I'm so happy that you said that because it triggers something in a particular relationship situation I'm working on right now that makes me even want to go back further and say, what here have I done to really perpetuate these terms, essentially? Let me ask you, you touched on this, but I think it's good to have a clear segment here because you did talk about, some false truths and things that were said during the court process and all of this. But what do you think is the biggest misconception about your story? And what do you want people to truly understand? You talked about it a little bit in the previous segment, but I want this to be very clean so you get that piece to say, no, this is not what happened. That was a misconception. And this is what you truly should understand about Julie Barth.
It's a hard answer because I think that I don't know what people think about me, but I've lived probably my entire life up until about 2 years ago, very concerned about the way that I looked, about to other people, about being a good person in their eyes, about the choices that I make and how people will perceive the choices that I made. And I think that those are the type of, I'm a pleaser by nature. And I think people like me that are very empathetic and are pleasers tend to get sucked into these type of situations because we do care so much. Um, so I think a misperception might be that I didn't care or that I was completely oblivious to it, or I don't know that I didn't have the strength that I did. A lot of people I think would do a lot of patting me on the head. I think I come across kind of as a ditzy blonde sometimes, or somebody who needs to be sheltered or taken care of. And I kind of bought into that for a while as well. But I think when you look at the totality of what I've been through, and you compare the situations of being a caregiver to Tatum and being her champion, and then Colin and being his champion, and the strength that it took to get them through those situations. And then you compare it with the second situation that I fell in where I almost appear to be the weak person, the victim in all of it. Um, but again, I really I can't say that there are misconceptions about me. I don't know what people think about me, but I think the best part is that I don't care anymore. So I almost feel like trying to clear up anything at this point, because that was a huge thing. When you get out of relationships like this, you feel as if you almost, or in these relationships, you feel like you're constantly on an apology tour. I would apologize to everyone if we got in a fight. He would say, "Oh, I'm not going to that party," and tell everyone that it was my fault. And then I'd be on this apology. "Oh, I'm so sorry we didn't make it." I'd make up excuses. Um, I think stepping back from that and stopping, I just don't throw so much energy into what people think about me anymore. Because again, as I spoke about before, if I know that I have goodness in my heart, I don't feel as if I had ever hurt somebody on purpose. Do I hurt people unintentionally? I think that's unavoidable. But I would never intentionally set out to hurt anyone on any level. I wouldn't keep, I was accused of keeping my two children with him from him, that I was somehow tainting their relationship. And that hurt very, very badly because my first four children lost their dad. All I ever wanted for any of them was to have a father figure in their world. And I would have done anything to maintain a good relationship. I followed the rules. I did all I could. I even tried to encourage him to do certain things to repair what was broken in the relationship. And instead, I was told, I was played as a person who was alienating my children from him. I was an adulterer, which was not true. So, if that's a misconception, if those are conceptions that people have of me, that I would purposely taint my children against their father, that would break my heart, and it's untrue. If to this day, I've always said, he sued me for rights that he never lost. I never said he couldn't see them. So it wasn't about that. And that's really hard to stomach because you're being accused of all these things. And they're the very things that you wouldn't want anyone to think about you. And they're opposite of actually who I am.
Mm-hmm. You know what? It's a like, let them, right? If they want to believe I was crazy, let them. If they want to believe I was weak, let them. If they wanted to believe that I didn't care, let them, right? Because at the end of the day, I
Yeah.
don't care if you get to the highest pedestal, you're still going to have a critic. You're still going to have somebody say, oh, that's not true, or she's this, or she's that. So, really about writing your own story internally and believing that, which we've hinged on this several times throughout this episode, is what's key. Because the most beautiful thing about this, to let me know that you've reached a certain place in your journey, Julie, is that you say, I don't care. The thing about it is, I'm not really trying to change their opinion. I don't care anymore. I've done the work. So that part lets me know that you've worked to a certain place in your journey to the way you can say that out of your mouth. And I really wanted you to work through that because I know that had to be hard when you're showing us to do the very best you could do. And
Yeah.
here is somebody undermining that. So thank you so much for that. I want to make sure we have a clean segment for you to let us know where to find your books, where we can contact you, any contact details, whether that's email, whether that's social handles, whatever you want to provide at this time. I want to make sure our audience have that for connection points.
Sure. So my books, my podcast appearances, some other resources, they can all be found on my website, which is juliebarthauthor.com. And from there, there's links to Tatum's artwork, which is Hope, HOPE 4, number 4, TAYT, Hope for Tate. We sell her art, and the proceeds from her art go to fund the charity, which is Colin James Barth Outreach. So if you buy something of Tate's, the proceeds go to fund the charity, which helps women in similar situations that I've been in my lifetime. We're kind of like a concierge service where if we can't provide the resources ourselves, we will find where they are. We will hook you up with them, because when you hit crisis, you just don't even know what to do. So we provide the steps, and we tell you who you need to contact. And we've already done the eligibility, so you're not just beating your head against the wall, because a lot of that tends to happen when you don't have the time to even do that. So again, if you go to juliebarthauthor.com, all the information is there. And I have one request: if you could follow Hope for Tate, her Facebook page. We're trying to set up the shop on Facebook, and if we can get followers there, it will show. I didn't know there was a follower minimum. So again, if you follow Hope for Tate, then we can try and get her products more mainstream, and they're amazing, and you're doing really good thing by donating the money to help women who need help.
I love it. So you guys make sure you go over and follow that page so that we can support Tate and all the amazing things that she's doing. Now, Julie, this is supporting our show. I call this Rapid Fire. I have 10 pre-prepared questions for you. You don't get a whole lot of time, maybe get a word or a sentence or so. And we want you to say the first thing that comes to your mind when I give you these phrases. And the first one is one word that describes my journey.
Long.
But I think long, but I think resilient. I think lots of lessons taught. I think really one that can speak to a lot of different areas of life. May have been long, but as we talked about,
I don't think it's not over yet. So that's why I think I'm saying long.
I'm going to say that perfectionship.
I feel after everything I've been through, I feel like my journey has just started, and that's weird to think about. I don't think about my past a lot. I do think that it starts now. And none of that matters. I mean, it matters in the scheme of things and what I'm talking about, but what I think I'm here for is now, going forward. And I think I've gone through all the things I've gone through to put me here to move forward. So that's why I say long, because I've got a lot further to go.
I love it. A quote or maybe a mantra that you live by.
There's a quote on my website, and I can't say it exactly. I said it, but basically that, we are all in a position to lose everything we have in an instant. And you have to recognize that. And, I think just to not get so attached to what you think you need, not to fall in love with what you want rather than what's in front of you,
Mhm.
and to just kind of live in the moment and realize that literally every moment could be your last moment, like on
Mhm.
earth or in your situation, or with everything that you think you have. Everything can change in an instant. So just enjoy what you have, and feel blessed in the things that make you happy rather than wanting all the time.
Love it. Your biggest source of joy right now.
My children.
A favorite book, or maybe a book that got you through hard times, or one book that just stands out that's very near and dear to your heart. Maybe your own, could be written by someone else, but a book that you just really like.
I'm not a big reader, so that's a hard one for me. I write all day long.
Okay.
I'm a right. I I think that Glass Castles really hit me, and Running with Scissors. Those two books made me feel like my life is a little less crazy. That there are people out there that have crazy lives too. So those two biographies, or semi-biographies, really stuck with me.
I love that. A myth about domestic violence that you want to break.
That it happens to people that are not aware or stupid. That it's um, that it's your fault. I think a lot of people
Yeah.
look at someone like me and they think, well, you should have just left. That was dumb. Um, it's very easy. I started to hear myself talk, and it was like, what are you even saying? Like, I wasn't even believing myself, but you don't know until you're in it. You really don't. And you can't understand it until you've been through it. And from the outside, things look so easy. I mean, it looks so clear from the outside, but when you're in it, you're covered
Mm-hmm.
in a fog.
Mm-hmm. Sure. One thing I do for myself now that I did not do before.
I think I just give myself a break. I am the most critical person. I am always trying to better myself. If I don't work out, I tended to beat myself up. I think I'm just trying to give myself a break for the first time.
I love
Just
that.
accept that I'm not going to do everything I want to do, and and not apologize for it either.
Yeah. And we've asked you this because we had a little segment on tape. Tell me something that tape does that makes you smile.
um, she will like, so she'll send me a picture of her art, and I'll say, wow, Tate, that's amazing. And her answer is always, I know. I don't know why I think that's so funny, but it's always, I know.
No, that's the kind of energy I'm on. You know it's good, so don't even try it. Okay, I know.
So, and I'm always like, it just comes out of the blue because I'm like, oh, that's really good. She's like, I know. And she's
Any,
not boastful either. That's why I think it's so funny, because it just comes back in a text. I know. I know.
I love it. We talked about a song that came up in the podcast episode. But do you have a song that's like a go to anthem, or a song that's like, if I hear this song, it's gonna take me to a certain place? I have a few because all I do is listen to a lot of music. But do you have an anthem song, or one that's like, yeah, this is Julie's song?
I like Fight Song. I don't know who sings it. It's uh and it just says, this is my fight song. That's Take Back My Life song. I don't know if you've ever heard
Oh,
that one.
okay.
I don't know who it's by, but it just, every time it comes on, it's like the whole refrain is, this is my fight song, take back my life song, do what is right song. Like, it just like,
Okay.
it's very empowering to me.
That's an anthem type song, actually.
Yeah.
Tell me a woman who inspires you.
My mother.
Love it.
Yeah.
And this is our last one. My definition of success now is.
And I think having well-adjusted children who are happy
Mm,
in life, and they're not worried about stuff, and they're not bogged down by their past or mine.
really, really good one. And that's very, very important for me and my son as well. Let me tell you something. Miss Julie Barth. What a great and pleasant experience this has been. I honor you for being here. This is the part of my show where I cue over to my guests. I give them an opportunity to give us some final thoughts. I ask them to give us some final parting words for the space that we shared. And I also ask them to let us know about their experience being here. And we really want to make this intentional and make this a place that feels very, very good this year. I'm going to cue over you for final thoughts, give us something really awesome that captures the essence of Julie, and I'll be back to close the show in no time.
I hope that our conversation today rang true with someone out there who's feeling really down and feels like they're stuck in a situation and they're alone in it, because you're never alone. And give yourself the grace to know that you deserve better if you're in a bad situation, and to trust people around you because they will be there for you. It might not feel like it, but you aren't ever alone. There's always somebody who will help. You just have to ask for it.
Absolutely. You have to ask for that help. And it has been an amazing, amazing show here on the Her Voice Shines podcast. I tell my guests amazing things can happen when you let your voice shine. And like the old church folks say, I love you, there's nothing you can do about it. And I'll be back really in no time with another amazing woman on the Her Voice Shines podcast. Until then, we're out.